does ET contact mean to the human race that we have such a high degree of excitement? And then there's, of course, there's people who have fear and all of these very intense energies
Well, let's put it
around
this way.
us.
Let's put it this way on a very simple level. You are discovering more of who and what you are, discovering more of the connections you have to everything and all that is, which includes the idea of extraterrestrial, extra dimensional, and spiritual levels of existence, beings, and consciousnesses. So, the idea of extraterrestrials is a physical way of relating to more of yourself, seeing a reflection of things that you believe are, in a sense, more expansive than you are right now, and therefore allowing you the opportunity to either welcome that expansion or be afraid of that expansion based on your belief system as to how you relate to the idea of knowing more about who and what you are, whether you have a positive view of yourself or a negative view of yourself. So the idea of encountering extraterrestrials on a very simplistic level reflects the idea of your ability to expand, to see yourselves as greater beings, equal beings, among the stars and the expansiveness of the universe, to stretch out, reach out, learn more, experience more of who and what you truly are as reflections of all that is, as does the spirit world as well. But the extraterrestrials, for the most part, are more physical, and therefore you have a better way of relating to them and orienting to them. And it still serves the same purpose of allowing you to expand yourself by using ETs as a symbol of your own expansion.
And is that, in a sense, similar to different religious icons in that sense that end up drawing a huge following in terms of a certain religion, let's say? Because
Fundamentally, yes. However, in ways that religions may then be manipulated by individuals, not necessarily.
so is the similar idea that humans could misinterpret ETs similar to how they might misinterpret religious messages?
Of course, humans are very good at misinterpreting things.
That's our challenge, right?
It's one of them, yes.
And as far as since there's no such thing as time,
Uh-uh. There is the experience of time. Just because we say time is an illusion and it doesn't necessarily have an experience in the same way on spiritual levels that it does in physical reality, doesn't mean time doesn't exist. It exists as an experience. When we say time doesn't exist, we simply mean it's a side effect. It's an illusionary experience. But the experience of time obviously is real. You base your entire society on it. But you base your society on the experience of time, the illusion of time. So it's real as an illusion.
and so how do we create the past from the present?
Well, again, every time you change yourself, looking at it from a linear, time based perspective, because you believe in cause and effect in a certain order. So anytime you may change in the present, your insistence on cause and effect says, essentially, something different must have happened in the past in order for me to be this different person in the present. Therefore, you are literally changing the past in a way that makes sense for who you are now because you believe that something must have happened to make this happen, this change occur. Something must have happened in the past because you believe there had to be an initial cause that created this changing effect. Does that make sense? Do you understand what we're saying?
Yes. And
You
it kind
sound
of
hesitant
reminds
when
me
you
of the
say that.
idea of a, excuse me?
You sound hesitant when you say that.
Well, I was just thinking about like a person in a novel, and every time you change your memories, you change your past
Yes.
in terms of what you're creating that to be to have brought you to the moment that you are.
Yes. That's how it
So,
works. Now, I'm not saying you have to focus on it that way. I'm just saying that's the mechanics of it, so to speak.
and what would be the value of understanding that time is an illusion, we use that as an experiential device,
Yes.
and the memories that we're experiencing
are created in the present.
so you would think like for PTSD that people would be able to use that, but
Absolutely.
yet many times the stories you hear are of it coming upon them in a
All right.
sense.
Well, you always have to remember that people make certain choices to experience certain things, and they will not necessarily change that until they feel they've gotten out of it what they came to get out of it. So you can't just say, well, it's this and it can be used this way for everyone in every situation. You always have to remember it's a case by case basis because everyone has individual choices about what they're getting out of what it is they are experiencing. But yes, it can be used that way for those that are willing to understand that any change in the present is an entire change, a total change of the past, the present, the future, whatever you want to call it, because it all exists simultaneously. And any change will shift you to a different timeline. What you decide is in that timeline is up to you. So knowing how this works, knowing and understanding the mechanism gives you the freedom to know that every moment is zero and that what you decide it is what it is in terms of your relationship to how you experience what's happening. Yes, certain things, again, as we said, may be set by the soul to experience. But again, realizations and inspirations and aha moments, as you say, are also designed in there so that you can allow yourself to make shifts that are relevant for your growth and your experience. So realizing that every moment is a zero moment can allow you to choose to go, all right, I am now such a different individual that I never had PTSD. And therefore you no longer experience that idea because you never have experienced it as the new individual who has a past that never had an incident that created PTSD. You can use it that way. But many individuals might actually say on another level, but I want to continue to experience this idea because it puts me in touch with things that are important for my soul's growth, for my understanding of other people and their experiences as well. And on and on and on for a variety of reasons that different beings choose to have the experiences that they have. So case by case.
And this person's wondering about phobias and where they come from. And I also remember you discussing the idea that when people make a connection to a quote unquote past life that they think is connected with a phobia,
Yes,
that is actually a connection that's being made in the present
of
and
course.
strengthening the phobic experience.
Yes, it's all right to say, all right, this phobia may come from an experience in a past life, as long as you understand what the real mechanism underlying it is, in that it is something you're actually creating in the present, because the past in that sense is here right now. So again, people may be using it for their own purposes, maybe giving them something to transform, to transcend, to go beyond, to feel the strength within them, to see things in a different perspective, a different light, to learn that the thing that makes them fearful can be looked at in a different way. Again, there are a million different reasons why people may choose to connect to the idea of certain fears and phobias and what it is they have decided it's going to help them do. So again, there is not one particular panacea, not one particular caveat that will work for everyone, because everyone has a different reason for choosing the experiences they are having.
And so the idea of what they choose as their phobia, especially this person was asking about insects,
Yes.
um, that there's a symbolic relationship also to whatever the object of the phobia
Yes.
is.
And it could be any number of things. It may not even be literal. It may be what the insect symbolizes, or what, shall we just use this term, memory it might jog of an experience they may have forgotten. So again, the idea is it's not just cut and dried, not just black and white, but may exist as several shades of gray.
Okay.
I think some people
Uh,
got the innuendo there.
Um, in nature, there was a question about at absolute 0 Kelvin,
Yes.
where particles stop moving and disorder disappears. The coldest an atom is at that level, or
Yes.
is is
Yes.
that what's actually happening? What's happening when it
Motion is slowing down. It never actually stops. The vibrations are always there, but they change in a different way. They're experienced in a different way. You may appear as frozen at absolute zero. It may appear to your senses to not be moving, but you have to kind of look in a different vector, a different direction to understand that the vibrations are still there. It's just that on the physical level, they may appear to have vanished because you've reached the threshold, in one context, the threshold of physical reality.
There are people in the world, including this person, who have the inability to see our mind's eye and can't create mental imagery. Can you discuss why this happens, and is it what would cause this?
All right, again, case by case basis. But the idea in general is that some people may not need mental imagery. They may function in a different way. They may have auditory experiences, tactile experiences that serve the same function for them. They may be experimenting with the idea of not necessarily having one ability and replacing it with another. But the idea also can be that there may be a belief system that is preventing them from having that. So if that is the case, we can suggest a particular exercise where they actually choose different objects. Doesn't matter really what they are. If it's an object of interest to them that they're attracted to use, that's fine. And stare at that object for a period of about 15 minutes. That can rewire the brain to always call up a mental image of that object after that point, if they so desire. But that can be an exercise that can help some people allow themselves to feel or see or experience a mental image of an object. And with practice, they can start sharing that with other objects, whether they've actually stared at the object or not. So it just depends on what the person is using it for. But that's one exercise that they could perform.
And it is interesting that I know there was a boy who was able to learn he was blind and he learned how to echolocate.
Yes.
So anytime you face a challenge, there's always some sort of opportunity there also if you don't sort of fight the experience, I guess you could say.
Yes. Remember, challenges are the things that you chose to experience that will teach you more about why you chose to experience physical reality, what it is you're attempting to learn, what it is you're attempting to accelerate, how you're attempting to grow. So understand the challenge, and you will understand more of yourself and why you chose to be where you are.
Um, this person is asking, can you elaborate on ancient tree stumps? It seems that there was some point in our history when gravity was lower on the planet and trees could become absolutely massive, miles wide, and even more in height. Like
No, this is a misunderstanding of what people are looking at. Gravity was not that much different, although it has fluctuated here and there, but not to the degree that this person is talking about. The idea of what many people think are tree stumps are simply eroded volcanic cores or other particular geological phenomenology, or even some people have used what you would call Photoshop, AI, to create fake generations of these images. No, these are not tree stumps. Trees did not grow that big on your planet.
And if we wish to start growing our own food in our own homes and yards, what are some basic principles you can give us that can ensure our food is grown organically as possible and while maximizing our yield? And it seems to be necessary to avoid pesticides, I would
Yes.
imagine.
Investigate Amazonian dark earth, terra preta. Terra, Terra, preta, Preta. Investigate that. You can use your internet to find out what it is and how it naturally, when created, extends the growing abilities of plants in a natural way, in a vital way.
Thank you. Um, are there any ET machines deep in our Earth, or I'm not our Earth, I'm sorry, on the moon?
Yes.
And if you were to go into the Earth's center, would there be some sort of a doorway to get in there, in a sense?
Again, are you talking about the Earth or the Moon?
The moon.
You will not get to its center. You don't have to. There are portals and machinery in subsurface hollows that have been created to house those machines. Some portions of them do extend to the surface, but they're disguised. But you're not going to the center of that body. You don't need to.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what's going on with the moon right now and perhaps some information about the dark side?
There is no permanent dark side. It is simply called the dark side because it perpetually faces away from the Earth because of tidal lock, gravitational tidal locking. So remember that the other side of the moon that faces away from you gets as much light as the near side does. That's why you have phases of the moon. But dark is simply meant hidden, not literally physically dark. There are things and bases on the far side of the moon, because again, they are on the far side, so that you cannot necessarily see them with your telescopes from Earth.
What happens
I mean
when they orbit?
extraterrestrial bases.
Yes. So what happens when they orbit the moon?
Some astronauts have seen remnants of these things. This information has simply been hidden.
I see. Okay. Um, oh, and just some other questions about the hybrid children.
Yes?
Will they actually be born to us or to
No, no, no.
humans?
The hybrid children that we're talking about will be brought to Earth. Hybrids are born all the time on your planet because you're all hybridized. And in the future, it may be more common when the idea of the hybrids that will be brought to Earth mature and in time will mingle with humans and produce offspring. And then you could say, yes, hybrid children are being born to you. But the first children we are talking about, the Shalanaya, in that sense, will be brought to Earth.
And will they all be the same age, or will some of them be like an infancy kind of thing? And
Some of them
when
will
is
be
the
younger, some of them will be older. There will be different ages.
and what is the general timing of this?
That I am not going to tell you.
Okay.
Let us simply say, most likely in general, you will start to experience some of this before your year of 2040. But I'm not going to be more specific than that. And I said some of this, not all of it.
And is there such a thing as hyperspace travel, or is it only quantum jumping?
There is a form of travel that could be likened to what your science fiction represents as hyperspace. But for the most part, most beings that go from star to star will use what you're referring to as quantum jumping, or what we refer to as vibrational locational reorientation.
Because it always follows the principle that you've described of how you actually change using the locational variable.
Yes, there are those that use some different kinds of technologies that might be more likened to the experience of hyperspace as you understand it. But for the most part, beings that we are familiar with that do travel from star to star will use the vibrational reorientation location principle.
Okay, and there's a question here about Edgar Casey saying that a consciousness would rise out of the mid-Atlantic ridge that would shift the planetary consciousness on Earth. And is there anything else you can tell us about what he was tapping into with that?
Well, the raising of the consciousness of the connection to ancient Atlantis is what that's a reference to.
Okay. And the idea that back in World War II, we had these two different, the Axis, I guess, and the Allies type situation. Was that also a splitting prism phenomenon? And is there yet another Earth that is not relevant to us, but that exists where the other side won in a
Oh, there are several different Earths where different histories played out, almost anything you can imagine. from that happening on many different Earths to it not happening at all, ever on certain Earths.
So is that a similar splitting prism phenomenon that happened there, or this is
All
much
right.
different?
The splitting prism that we are describing happens all the time. Remember, you're always shifting to different parallel realities. The reason we're calling it out as a splitting prism is because you're starting to become consciously aware that that's happening all the time. Remember, it's not about the idea that you're not shifting. It's not about the idea that you're not already going to different versions of Earth. It's about the idea that you're becoming aware of the different versions that you're capable of navigating to. The splitting prism is more a recognition of the awareness in your consciousness that you are always splitting, always shifting.
Okay. Well, that is all the time we have questions for. Is there anything else you would like to add before we?
We would like to always express our unconditional love to all of you, to be yourselves, and to be in service. If you cannot find your passion right away, do something to be in service to others, and you will find it quickly, one way or another, because you are giving of yourself, and you will get the reflection of what it is yourself actually needs. So now you may enjoy the rest of the communication, relax, and enjoy.